In 2012, Meta's market cap crossed $500 billion. Amazon controlled nearly 40% of all US e-commerce. Google had not lost a search war in 20 years. Together, these three companies had built the most valuable attention infrastructure in human history. Governments deferred to them. Regulators could not keep up. Nobody in Silicon Valley was worried. Then a 29-year-old engineer in Beijing launched a news aggregator on a phone app and began quietly working on something far more dangerous. By 2024, TikTok was generating $23 billion in global revenue. Meta's stock had lost 26% of its value in a single earnings call, the most catastrophic single-day shareholder wipeout in stock market history. Instagram's engagement rate among users under 30 dropped by more than half in 3 years. Amazon's advertising division, its fastest-growing business, started losing ground to a platform that had not even launched a shopping feature yet. In a single quarter, 40,000 legacy tech jobs vanished. The culprit was not a new social network. It was not a search engine, a streaming platform, or a hardware company. It was 16 seconds of a stranger dancing in their kitchen, served to you by an algorithm that had never seen your face and did not care who your friends were. One app, 170 million American users, one Chinese parent company that the United States Supreme Court unanimously decided was a national security threat. This is not a story about social media. This is a story about power and who holds it now. In 2019, the average American spent 38 minutes a day on Instagram, 33 minutes on Facebook, and almost nothing on TikTok. Nobody outside a marketing agency had heard of ByteDance. The attention economy was stable, predictable, and owned by two companies based in California. By 2025, that picture had been completely shredded. TikTok users now spend an average of 95 minutes per day on the platform, more than any other social app. TikTok leads Instagram by 33 minutes per day, YouTube by 46 minutes, and Facebook by 64 minutes. In the United Kingdom alone, users clock 49 hours per month on TikTok. That is not a usage figure. It is a behavioral overhaul. Here is the part that should terrify every media company on the planet. TikTok did not take those minutes from people who had nothing to do. It took them from television, from editorial media, from every other business built on the assumption that attention was infinite. It was not infinite. It was finite. And ByteDance found a way to capture more of it than anyone thought possible. Facebook built its empire on the social graph. People follow people they already know. Instagram did the same. LinkedIn did the same. Twitter did the same. Every major Western platform was built on the same premise. Your network determines your feed. TikTok broke that premise entirely. The platform proved that you do not need a friend list to keep someone scrolling for 95 minutes. You just need an algorithm accurate enough to understand what people want before they know it themselves. That algorithm has a name, and the man who built it is the most consequential engineer alive today. Zhang Yiming was born in 1983 in Fujian Province, China. He studied software engineering at Nankai University, took a job at Microsoft after graduation, and left within a year because he found the pace too slow. That restlessness defined everything that followed. In 2012, he founded ByteDance, not as a video company, not as a social network, but as an artificial intelligence company that happened to deliver content. The first product was Toutiao, a news aggregator. The breakthrough was the insight that powered it. The app did not curate news based on who you followed. It is curated based on what you spent time reading, and it gets better at predicting your next choice with every swipe. Zhang Yiming did not set out to build a social network. He set out to isolate the signal in human behavior. The difference is enormous. Every Western tech founder asked, "How do we get people to connect?" Zhang Yiming asked a different question entirely. How do we make an algorithm so accurate that social connection becomes irrelevant? By 2017, ByteDance was valued at over $20 billion. By 2021, it had reached $250 billion, making it the most valuable private company in history. Zhang Yiming resigned as CEO that same year, citing a preference for thinking over managing. He handed the company to a trusted deputy and walked away from the most powerful attention machine ever built. But the machine kept running, and the next question it was trying to answer had nothing to do with content, If you're still watching, do us a favor and subscribe before we go further, because what comes next is where this story gets genuinely unsettling. The For You page is the product of a decade of machine learning refinement, trained on the revealed preferences of over 1 billion users. But to understand why it is so effective, you need to understand what it actually measures. Traditional platforms measure explicit engagement, likes, comments, shares, and follows. TikTok's algorithm measures something entirely different. It measures watch time, replay rates, scroll speed, pause patterns, and the micro signals in between. If you stop scrolling on a video for 2 seconds before deciding you do not want to watch it, the algorithm records that hesitation. It learns from the things you almost clicked on as much as the things you did. This is the shift from the social graph to the interest graph. Facebook knows who you say you are. TikTok knows who you actually are, based on what you cannot stop watching at 11 p.m. when nobody is looking. The result is a recommendation engine that requires no prior knowledge of the user. New accounts go viral. Unknown creators reach millions. A 17-year-old with no followers, no brand deals, and no production budget can outperform a global media company. This is not generosity. It is data collection at scale. Every piece of content that lands is a training signal. Every piece of content that flops tells the algorithm what not to serve next. Meta spent years studying TikTok's algorithm before admitting internally that it could not replicate it. In 2022, internal documents revealed that Facebook's own engineers described the For You page as a step change in recommendation quality. And the whole time, nobody was watching what was being built underneath the entertainment. For the first 3 years of TikTok's Western expansion, every serious business journalist dismissed it as a Gen Z dance platform. They were not entirely wrong. The early content was exactly that. Lip-syncing, choreography, viral challenges. Nothing about it screamed commercial threat. That was the point. While the Western media was laughing at teenagers doing the renegade, ByteDance was running one of the most patient commercial experiments in the history of technology. The dance content was not the product. It was the acquisition channel. Get users hooked on entertainment, let the algorithm learn their psychology, and then, once you own their attention, give them something to buy. In 2021, ByteDance launched TikTok Shop in Southeast Asia. They picked markets where live stream commerce was already culturally embedded, where a seller talking directly to the camera and holding up a product felt natural rather than awkward. The conversion rates were extraordinary. Indonesian sellers were generating millions in sales per month through live broadcasts. The loop of watch, want, buy, repeat was working. By 2023, TikTok Shop will be live in the United Kingdom. By September 2023, it landed in the United States. At that point, the dancing app stopped pretending to be a dancing app. What nobody had mapped out yet, and what became the most important strategic detail in this entire story, was the infrastructure behind every sale. Because TikTok Shop was not just a marketplace. It was the customer-facing surface of a supply chain that had been decades in the making, and it ran entirely through China. That detail changes everything. TikTok Shop launched in the United States in September 2023. By the end of 2024, its first full year of American operations, it had generated $9 billion in gross merchandise value. For context, that is more than Etsy's entire annual GMV. It took Amazon 5 years to reach a comparable scale from a cold start. In the first half of 2025 alone, TikTok Shop's US monthly GMV crossed $1 billion 6 consecutive times. January and February posted 160% year-on-year GMV jumps, while March delivered a 139% surge. No other US retail channel is putting up these numbers. By the end of 2025, global TikTok Shop GMV had reached $66 billion, nearly double its 2024 total. Projections for 2026 sit above $112 billion. The conversion rates are what concern Amazon most. Live shopping on TikTok generates 3 to 5 times higher conversion rates than static advertising. A user watching a live stream can buy what they are watching in 2 taps without leaving the app. In a platform where the average user spends 95 minutes a day, the opportunity to intercept a purchase decision is constant. Amazon built an empire on frictionless checkout. TikTok built something more dangerous: frictionless desire. It does not wait for you to search for something. It shows you something you did not know you wanted, and by the time you have consciously decided whether to buy it, you have already bought it. Black Friday 2024 captured the whole story in a single line. TikTok Shop generated $100 million in US sales in one day, tripling the previous year's figures. As of early 2024, TikTok commanded 68.1% of all social commerce GMV in the US. Here is the detail that Western politicians took far too long to notice. Every product being sold on TikTok Shop, most of it at prices that Amazon and Walmart simply cannot match, is being shipped directly from Chinese factories to the doorsteps of American and European consumers. The middleman has been removed entirely. This is not an accident. The system was designed to work as a single unit. A Chinese factory lists its product. The TikTok algorithm identifies which users are most likely to buy it, based on psychographic data collected over the years. A creator, paid a small commission, demonstrates the product in a 60-second video. The user watches, taps, and the package is dispatched. The speed and scale of this are staggering. Temu, operated by PDD Holdings, runs a similar model. Shein, the fast fashion giant, built a $66 billion valuation on the same closed loop before TikTok made it social. But TikTok brought the one ingredient that Temu and Shein never had: an algorithm with a direct line into human desire. The price advantage runs deep. Chinese factories selling direct to the consumer eliminate distributor margins, retailer markups, and years of incumbent brand investment. A product that retails for $40 on Amazon can sell for $12 on TikTok Shop, and the factory still turns a profit. That price gap does not exist because of Chinese manufacturing genius alone. It exists because the American retail model carries costs that direct factory selling simply does not, and TikTok is exploiting every dollar of that gap. And once the US government finally worked out what was being built, the response it reached was not a trade policy. It was a ban. In April 2024, the United States Congress passed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act with a vote of 352 to 65 in the House and 79 to 18 in the Senate. The bipartisan margins were nearly identical to the votes authorizing military action. President Biden signed it into law. The deadline for ByteDance to divest its American TikTok operations or face a ban was January 19, 2025. On January 17, 2025, the United States Supreme Court upheld the law unanimously. For approximately 14 hours, TikTok went dark across the United States. The core argument was China's 2017 National Intelligence Law, which legally compels Chinese companies to cooperate with state intelligence gathering on request. ByteDance, regardless of its protestations, is a Chinese company. The concern was not only the data it had collected, including location history, browsing behavior, and biometric patterns from 170 million Americans. The concern extended to the recommendation algorithm itself, controlled and developed in China. The government maintained that without divestiture, ByteDance could exploit this algorithm for its own purposes. ByteDance spent $27 million lobbying in the United States between 2019 and 2024. It was not enough. What followed was a negotiated framework that placed TikTok's US operations into a newly established joint venture, majority owned by American investors, with ByteDance retaining less than 20%. Whether the core algorithm transferred with the deal remains legally disputed as of this recording. The app survived. But the question of who controls it was never fully answered. There is a fragility sitting at the center of TikTok's empire that does not show up in the GMV figures. 73% of content creators report experiencing burnout at least occasionally, according to a 2024 survey by the Awin Group. That figure was 87% in 2022. On TikTok specifically, the pressure is built into the platform itself. The platform uploads approximately 34 million videos per day, around 270 videos per second. The average trend has a lifespan of 48 hours before saturation kills it. Creators who built audiences by catching early trends are discovering that the same algorithm that made them famous will move on the moment engagement velocity drops. There is no loyalty in an interest graph. The economics make this worse. TikTok's creator fund pays between 2 and 4 cents per thousand views, a rate so low that the majority of full-time creators earn less than $15,000 a year from it. The platform generated $23 billion in ad revenue in 2024. The creators who generated that content received approximately $4.1 billion between them, roughly 18 cents on every dollar the platform collected. On the user side, the data tells a parallel story. TikTok's engagement rate fell from 2.65% in 2023 to 2.5% in 2024. The platform is heavily saturated. The accounts that once went viral by existing are now competing against 34 million daily uploads and an algorithm that increasingly rewards paid promotion over raw content quality. The machine that promised to make anyone famous is now struggling to keep its own creators solvent. And here is the part nobody wants to say out loud. Even if TikTok collapsed tomorrow, what it did to every other platform would not reverse. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Every major platform on the planet has already rebuilt itself in TikTok's image. Instagram launched Reels. YouTube launched Shorts. Snapchat restructured its entire feed around algorithmic video. LinkedIn began testing short-form video content. The interest graph replaced the social graph everywhere, not just on TikTok. Zhang Yiming's core insight that human attention does not require social connection, just accurate prediction, is now the operating logic of the entire social internet. The supply chain wired into that attention is not going back either. TikTok Shop now operates across Southeast Asia, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and the United States. Temu and Shein had already established the consumer appetite for direct-from-China pricing before TikTok Shop arrived. The infrastructure is in place. The consumer behavior has been formed. Even if every TikTok-related platform were removed from app stores tomorrow, the purchasing patterns it created would find another vehicle. The geopolitical response is also, in a technical sense, too late. The 2025 deal left ByteDance's recommendation algorithm intellectual property in Beijing under a licensing arrangement. The US entity uses the system. Beijing retains ownership of it. What has happened, and what cannot be undone, is that a foreign power built the most effective behavioral influence platform in human history, monetized it through a closed-loop commerce engine, and established the entire infrastructure before anyone in Washington worked out what they were actually looking at. That is not a cautionary tale. It is a completed transaction. If this video made you see any platform differently today, share it with one person who needs to hear it. And if you are new here, subscribe. This is exactly what we do.